This occurred not long after I turned 18 years old. My girlfriend had also just turned 18 years old a few days ago, which meant her parents had finally trusted her and I to be alone in the house while they went out for dinner. My girlfriend has always been a fan of horror films and creepy things in general. She loved reading creepypastas and watching dark and gory films such as Hostel and Saw. One evening, I was sitting with her while she finished watching the last few minutes of The Human Centipede. We both had a few drinks and I was about to go to bed, but she suggested we look for other horror films to watch online. Despite my tiredness, I obliged. A few minutes of searching on her laptop revealed all of her favourite online film sites had been taken down. That's when she suggested a chilling alternative. Ever heard of dark web? She asked. I had heard whispers around school about it, but never took any interest. Yes, I have, I replied, trying to act brave. A smile of excitement appeared in her face. I could tell she was slightly drunk in that sort of I don't care what happens mood. I decided to go into the kitchen and fetch her some water. When I came back, I noticed she had a site open called Sensor View that displayed the picture of a movie poster I had never seen before. I correctly assumed it was a site that sold banned horror films from other countries. All of them looked pretty unoriginal, nothing I hadn't seen before, all except for one. The one my girlfriend was hovering the mouse clicker over. The movie was called The Visiting. This displayed picture was simply a white background with The Visiting written in Arial black font. We both were very fascinated as to what it was. I took out my phone and searched the plot of the film, yet nothing came up, just a few stupid YouTube videos, irrelevant forums. However, when I looked back up on my phone, I caught a glimpse of my girlfriend typing her name and address into various boxes on a page titled Order Details. Before, to my horror, she clicked submit button. I was caught in a state of anger and shock. I shouted at her, explaining how dangerous it was sparing personal information into such a fucked up place as the dark web. I could see my attempts to correct her were futile, as the alcohol was hitting her pretty hard, and she was not paying attention whatsoever. Frustrated, I went to bed, deciding to discuss it with her the next morning. The next morning, she seemed to have a little regret over her actions. She spent the morning explaining how she was curious and she was in no danger. She even commented that the experience would be fun. However, I was not convinced. She told me not to tell her parents, fearing they would not trust her to be alone in the house again. I promised not to say anything and headed back home. 3 days later, I was visiting her house again. Her parents had gone to meet up with some friends from work for a drink, and we were watching The Exorcist on DVD. During a particularly non-eventful part of the film, my girlfriend began joking about how horrified I looked a few days ago when we were discussing the dark web. She said she had only received a fairly professional looking email confirming the order and nothing else. I began to yield to her agreement. Perhaps I was overreacting. It was merely seconds after our conversation finished that an aggressive knock came from the door. It sounded like it was from 2 doors, but I dismissed that as an echo. I began to look concerned while my girlfriend began laughing once again at the terror on my face. I put on a fake smile as I walked towards the door. It erased clean from my face when I saw who stood outside. A tall, stocky man wearing a ski mask and dark clothes. Blood-curdling scream echoed through the house. I raced back into my room to see my girlfriend pointing at the window facing the garden. An identical man stood at the window, only he was holding a bat, and I grabbed my girlfriend's hand and sprinted up the stairs. We hid in the master bedroom, where I called the police on my mobile and who told them that they would be there as soon as possible. As they finished the call, I heard one of the doors smash and a loud rapid footstep heading up the stair. They were in the house. Without thinking, I pushed the window open and told my girlfriend to jump. Run, do not look back. She jumped and landed safely on the grassy garden below. I was about to follow but hesitated, wondering if I could put up a fight, and doing so would allow my girlfriend more time to escape. It was then I heard a deep aggressive voice outside the room. The man shouted something in a foreign language whilst hearing laughs from 2 other men outside. All bravery evaporated and jumped, landing harshly on my ankle, the adrenaline racing around my body, which gave me the power to run without pain, and eventually caught up to my girlfriend. We were running for what seemed like 10 hours, but in reality was mostly like 10 minutes. We ended up next to the local park, a safe distance away from the house. My girlfriend began sobbing, but I comforted her, trying to avoid my own desire to break down. It was not long after that the police called me on my mobile. They were at the house, and as far as they could tell, the attackers were gone. After taking a few minutes to compose ourselves, me and my girlfriend made our way back. There were 3 police officers at the house. One was examining each room for evidence by the men. One was comforting my girlfriend while the other asked me questions. The shock was clouding my memory. I was only able to remember a few details about the clothing and the fact that they spoke in an Eastern European language. My girlfriend handed over their phone and computer to the police to investigate, and they left. They advised us to tell the homeowners of the situation, lock up, and suggest that everyone spend the rest of the evening with friends or a relative. So we both spent the night at my parents' house. Whilst my girlfriend's parents stayed with friends, I remember my girlfriend crying over the phone while telling them about the situation. They were furious. A few days later, the the police visited my girlfriend. It was by luck that I was at her house that afternoon. Their investigations had led them into some disturbing findings. It turned out the visiting was a nickname locals in a small Polish town gave to a number of brutal murders that occurred in the 90s in the local area. The murders were committed by an unknown gang and they were initially dismissed as home invasions gone wrong. All the victims were killed in the house, although nothing of value was taken from the house. It was only 2 years after the murders began that a family survived an attack by the gang. The husband was able to get the Polish police a few details of the attackers, but all that he revealed was that they wore ski masks, welded blunts and objects, and had a video camera. However, the critical evidence was that one of the attackers had dropped a backpack containing one blank videotape and 3 other tapes with content on them. The 3 tapes showed the horrific murders of the other victims of the attackers. The police came to a shocking conclusion that these men were creating films that sold whatever sickos would pay for them. A nationwide manhunt began, but after a few years, investigations, nothing was found. I remember feeling incredibly cold as the police told me their findings. They went on to tell me that the men most likely fled Poland during the Polish search and could possibly have entered the UK as workers when Poland joined the European Union. The only thing they knew certain was that the men were operating once again, decades after the last murder, and were using the dark web as a way of deciding on their next victims. The police told my girlfriend's family to move in with a relative while the investigation was going on. It was not long after that my girlfriend broke up with me by her parents' wishes. I assumed their parents suspected me of forcing her into using the dark web. My girlfriend discovered that later a various document containing her information had been taken from the house. I'm not allowed to see her, but her parents still speak. From what they tell me, her mental state has become incredibly fragile. It broke my heart to hear this. I can safely say the police will never find the attacker's information I gave, which means they will most likely strike again. I can only hope the next time they do it, it will lead to those bastards ending up behind bars and not a creation of one of those tapes to add to the collection. Be safe and avoid the dark web. Thank you guys for watching so much. I'm really sorry about the stuttering and stuff in this video. I'm really not great at telling stories, but this is something I want to do for so long because it's so cool and I'm so glad I can tell you guys this story. One little itsy bitsy thing I want to tell you guys is watch out at 3 AM tonight. There will be a girl standing at the end of your bed. Tell her I said hello and make sure to smack the like button. Tell her to check out this video if she wants to hear some more cool stories. She'll definitely be doing them. Anyway guys, have a nice day and I will see you on the next one. Thank you for watching. Peace.